Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and what we are about to show you is hardcore proof that George Soros is trying to take over and monopolize the gold industry in Texas. We've got info coming from deep, high up, anonymous sources which may disturb you. Let's start from the beginning and move on up from there. BitGold is a company founded in 2014 in Canada, originally funded by the Soros Brothers Fund. The company opened its doors to the public on May 5th, 2015. The next week, May 12th, 2015, the company went public on the Toronto Stock Exchange with no provable sales or operational track record, but powerful friends and investors. Less than 2 weeks later, on May 22nd, 2015, GoldMoney Inc., an Isle of Jersey private company, announced BitGold's intent to buy GoldMoney for a 20% ownership stake in BitGold. BitGold Inc.'s purchase of GoldMoney Inc. was finalized on July 20th, 2015. This is around the same time Sprott Inc., helmed by Eric Sprott, made a huge public deal with BitGold. Sprott, as well as James Turk, were massive investors in GoldMoney. GoldMoney was a major pet project of Sprott's. The GoldMoney stockholders were put in a 1-year hold and could not sell their shares on the public market until July 20th, 2016, due to the restriction. BitGold phased out their name in August 2016 and adopted the sole name GoldMoney. The company now operates as GoldMoney Incorporated and is listed as XAU on the Toronto Stock Exchange. None other than Peter Schiff sold his company Schiff Gold to BitGold/GoldMoney last July and is actively marketing for them, which may surprise many of Schiff's fans considering his liberty-minded views and especially the views of his legendary father, Irwin Schiff. The knowledge that Peter Schiff knew of the Soros backing for GoldMoney and sold out to them anyway is bad enough. But going one step further down the rabbit hole, George Soros and GoldMoney have attempted to win the Texas Bullion Depository Act contract, and if that happens, this Soros-backed company will be literally running the Texas State Bullion Depository. Think about that. Now, what's the Texas Bullion Depository, you may ask? Well, let's quickly break that down because this brings the entire story together. The Texas Bullion Depository is a first of its kind legislated by Texas to house an estimated $70 million worth of gold bullion owned by the University of Texas Investment Management Company, UTIMCO, to create a gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and rhodium payment system, as well as set up an e-commerce platform for depository users and provide a vault for Texas citizens to store their precious metal species. Through information gathering from countless sources, we suspect the Comptroller's office was attempting to force the win of the now Soros-controlled GoldMoney to build the system through a relationship with Dallas-based coin dealer Dillon Gage. To make matters worse, Kyle Bass, who is on the board of directors for the University of Texas Investment Management Company, UTIMCO, bought millions of dollars worth of GoldMoney stock last year in March. We viewed the paperwork, but for legal reasons we can't show it at this point in time. But this info is absolutely legitimate. Even though GoldMoney was traded publicly on the Toronto Stock Exchange, it appears Kyle Bass wanted to buy privately to keep it off the public record. Now here is a step-by-step history of the link between GoldMoney, Dillon Gage, and Kyle Bass. Number 1. The state of Texas passed the Texas Bullion Depository Act in June 2015. The act called for Texas to create a Texas Bullion Depository that will serve as a precious metals depository for its citizens, create an e-commerce system for depository clients, as well as house the University of Texas Endowment Fund's approximately $750 million of gold, which is currently being housed at HSBC in New York. The concept of Texas bringing back its gold to Texas was a huge national public relations play for the state and the bill. Number 2. The University of Texas Management Investment Company, UTIMCO, is a non-profit company that is in charge of overseeing the $2.2 billion UT endowment money, which includes approximately $750 million of gold holdings. Kyle Bass is on the board of directors for UTIMCO. And this just gets more interesting. Number 3. In February 2016, GoldMoney and Dillon Gage, a Dallas-based precious metals company who, as stated previously, is in the running for the Texas Bullion Depository administrator/sub-administrator role, announced a partnership. Number 4. In March of 2016, according to our sources, a number of GoldMoney stockholders were contacted by BitGold/GoldMoney with an offer from a private party to sell their shares, even though the buyer could have bought shares through the public market. They were told the buyer was quote-unquote a friend of the CEO. Number 5. On March 14th, 2016, according to our sources, many at GoldMoney got a call from GoldMoney General Counsel Warren Cass indicating the name of the buyer was Hayman Capital Master Fund LP, a hedge fund launched and managed by Hayman Capital Management LP. The managing partner, chief investment officer, and portfolio manager of Hayman Capital Management LP is J. Kyle Bass. One can draw pretty serious conclusions over that, as it appears Bass was the buyer. This may also put him in a breach of the UTIMCO Code of Ethics, most notably Section 1.08. Number 6. Following the redrafting of sale agreements, many sales of GoldMoney shares were sold to 24th Parallel Holdings, which is housed at 2101 Cedar Springs Road, Suite 1400, Dallas, Texas, which happens to be the same address as Hayman Capital Management LP. As stated previously, J. Kyle Bass is a board director of UTIMCO, University of Texas Investment Management Company, and also, as we mentioned, J. Kyle Bass bought numerous shares of GoldMoney Incorporated. GoldMoney Inc. is in partnership with Dillon Gage. Dillon Gage is one of the competitors for the administrator role for the Texas Bullion Depository Act. Now, number 7. In July 2016, the State of Texas Comptroller's Office issued an RFP that requested interested companies to bid for the administrator's contract for the Texas Bullion Depository. A number of companies submitted RFPs, including Dillon Gage. The contract was supposed to be awarded by December 1st, 2016. As of today, not only has a contract not been awarded, there has not been one official word from the Comptroller's Office concerning this RFP. Number 8. On November 3rd, 2016, this article appeared in the Capitol Inside publication, which is read by all Texas legislators and their staff. The article, which we will read, substantiates much of what we've went into in this video. As the article reads, and I quote, "Goldfinger, Democrats hoped Soros has Midas political touch in Texas where new gold depository could affect business interests," by Mike Haley. New York billionaire George Soros has emerged as a major Democratic financier in Texas at a time when a company that has ties to him could be competing for the right to manage the state's new gold depository. Soros, a liberal activist and philanthropist who's one of Hillary Clinton's top donors in the presidential race, has poured almost $1.5 million by the end of last week into a political action committee that was established here in January. Soros pumped more than $750,000 into the Texas Safety and Justice PAC last month. While the Hungarian-American investor has been the leading contributor to Democrats across the country for the past 12 years, Soros has never been directly involved in Texas politics until the 2016 election season that's featured the battle for the White House between Republican Donald Trump and Clinton. The lion's share of money that Soros has spent in Texas so far has gone to Harris County Democrat Kim Ogg in her bid to oust Republican District Attorney Devin Anderson in the general election 5 days from now. But the Dallas-based committee that Soros has bankrolled spread more than $300,000 in the past month, as well as between the Texas Democratic Party and the Texas Organizing Project PAC, as part of the effort to turn the state blue next week at the top of the ticket. The timing of Soros' debut as a key political player in the Lone Star State has raised some eyebrows nonetheless, in light of massive investments that his family has made in the gold business in recent years. The state is in the process of establishing a Texas Bullion Depository that the legislature authorized last year in a measure that conservative Republicans had sponsored and passed with bipartisan support. The depository will be used as the storage facility for $650 million worth of gold that the University of Texas Management Company currently owns and is keeping now in New York. But private corporations, individuals, nonprofit organizations, and other governmental entities would have the ability to place holdings in precious metals in the state depository that would operate like a bank with gold as a chief currency. The competition between private firms for the right to operate the depository has been intense since proposals were submitted to the state before the end of September. Comptroller Glenn Higar, a Republican who served in the Texas Senate and House, has the exclusive authority to decide who will get the coveted contract to be in charge of the bullion depository here. While the list of private competitors hasn't been made public, a firm with Soros connections is believed to be among the companies in the hunt for the depository oversight role. That might not sit well with conservatives who'd been the Texas Gold Depository's initial supporters in light of Soros' partisan history and close association with Clinton. The Soros family had been a major initial investor in a Canadian corporation called Bitgold when it was preparing 2 years ago to launch an internal platform designed to offer worldwide access to gold for savings and transactions. Bitgold acquired a gold-based financial service group known as GoldMoney a month after Republican Governor Greg Abbott signed the bullion depository measure into law in the summer of 2015. Bitgold launched a major global expansion early this year when it teamed up in a partnership with Dillon Gage, one of the largest precious metal wholesale trading firms in the world. A representative for Dillon Gage had testified at a Texas House committee hearing in favor of the gold depository bill that state lawmakers approved on the final day of the regular session last year. State Representative Giovanni Capriglione, a South Lake Republican who'd won a House seat in 2012 with strong Tea Party support, had authored the bullion depository legislation that conservative GOP Senator Lois Kolkhorst of Brenham carried in the Capitol's East Wing last year. House and Senate Republicans voted unanimously for the measure that 4 Democrats on both sides of the rotunda ended up opposing on the final vote. Several conservative activists had registered in support of the measure before it cleared the House Investments and Financial Services Committee on a unanimous vote. The Texas Safety and Justice PAC opened for business in late January, and Soros contributed $50,000 to it February 12th, 2 days after the Bitgold partnership with Dillon Gage was made public. A Democratic political committee called the Texas Organizing Project foot the bill a week later for a direct mail initiative that the Texas Safety and Justice PAC listed as a non-monetary contribution worth more than $12,000. The Texas committee that Soros has funded rallied initially behind Morris Overstreet in his bid for district attorney in Harris County. Overstreet, a former state court of criminal appeals judge who'd been the first African-American ever elected statewide in Texas, was eliminated with a second-place finish in the Democratic primary election that Ogg won in March with almost 51% of the vote. Soros shifted his allegiance to Ogg at that point, and he's donated more than $1 million of her campaign in the past several months with a show of generosity that Republicans have portrayed as a blatant attempt to buy the election. But the Soros gold interests and his surprise surfacing in the Texas political arena could simply be a coincidence at a time when he's contributed large sums of money to several other Democratic candidates in district attorney races in other states. Well, that's an interesting insight. Many believe this article put a wrench in the plans of the Comptroller's office to award this contract to Dillon Gage / GoldMoney. Now, finishing it off, one of our GoldMoney sources said this, and I quote, "Obviously, there is a huge conflict of interest when a UTIMCO board director has purchased stock in the last year in a company he knows is involved in the request for proposal RFP process for the Texas Bullion Depository Act and will benefit from that purchase if Dillon Gage and or GoldMoney receives administrator or subcontractor roles for the Texas Bullion Depository. This is, in my opinion, typical of how George Soros operates, and it is frightening that he is trying to infiltrate his one world government philosophy into the state of Texas and their bullion depository." End quote. So, what do we get from this, you may ask? Quite simply, Soros is trying to shape the Texas gold industry in his favor. Schiff sold out. Sprott sold out. This may be disturbing to many of you who are fans of Schiff and Sprott, but the truth must be told. So many may be wondering, what can I do? Well, considering the negative globalist influence George Soros has had on global policy, it appears information is one of the best ways to stop it. Texas is one of the most resilient states in the United States and has hope if the people of Texas, people who believe in sound money and insurance from the inevitable fiat crash, stop this monopolization and shady collaboration. Debt is our enemy, and sound money for the purpose of insuring our families from debt and poverty is incredibly important. But if we allow these globalists to take over the entire market worldwide, we will lose our protection on many levels, and then comes a debt servitude a long time in the making. So share this video, share this information. If that one Capital Insider article slowed down the process, this certainly will do the same. Hopefully on a greater level, because we have the viewership and so many incredible, passionate viewers at that. This is huge. Let us stop the continued buy-up of our liberties by the globalist elites. Let's call out those who are involved. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will continue to update you on this information as we get more information from our sources. But until next time, check the links below, GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube. Also check our Bitcoin address in the description and the comments below, as well as on the screen for you to scan, if you please. And also check our link to the Red Pill Expo, which takes place June 23rd to 24th in Bozeman, Montana, where you could see people like G. Edward Griffin, Robert Kiyosaki, James Corbett, Lord Moncton, Richard Gage, Cynthia McKinney, Ty Bollinger, Mike Adams, John Rappaport, and the list goes on and on and on. We hope we see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.